Hey everybody, this is Seka here. While my coffee is brewing, I thought I would make a intro to this video. This will be about a little trick that I have been using for my Book of Shadows. I thank you all for joining me and all the new subscribers. For those of you who don't know, I do lots of art for Book of Shadows and little how-tos for the Sabbats and things like that. There's my thumb. Get it together. Now currently I don't have the skeleton part for my Book of Shadows. That is in the making, but I'm going to share the pages that I have done with you and my new little piece of material that I've been using to organize my Book of Shadows. I hope you love it. Here we go.
Hey everybody! Whenever anyone does a flip through of anything, they always do this. Hello! Yeah, I just did it. I know you recognize this book. This is the book that I was using for Sabbath pages and different metaphysical art projects and things like that. It had all of the Sabbath information, and my original plan was to do these pages and then extract them from this binding. This is just a sketchbook, and put them, organize them in my own Book of Shadows. And there is a YouTuber called Jamie Book of Shadows, I believe, and he has an amazing how to make your own Book of Shadows. But in the meantime, I have been working on taking these pages and digitalizing them, that sounds a little better, taking them into Photoshop and making the font a little easier and more consistent, and using the same fonts for each of the pages that I have been doing. So I'm going to share those with you. These are the materials that I have been using for my scrapbook, Book of Shadows. As you know, I really love practical magic, and I'm trying to give it that feel. And just the cut and paste collage style. So I know most of you crafters know how expensive art material can get, and I had a gift card for Michael's, and that's the only way I got my hands on these papers. This one is called Paper Stash by Ideology, and this set of paper has 36 different designs, and these do look, I've already used some, these look like something you would find in a school book, or has ledgers and very, very Owens style. I'll have to open it this way. I must have broken the binding already. So I love that, you know, it is the collage style. Unfortunately, the pages that I've been doing will be 8.5 by 11, just because that's what my printer can handle. So all of the pages that I mount on here or choose to print on or color on, I have to cut, and then that leaves me with little bits left over that I can use elsewhere, which is fine. So these pages are really, really handsomely done. I would love to flip through all of them, but the lighting is not working for me. So these are some of the pages that I'm going to be working with. This was an extra one that I bought, which is a lot thinner. The single page scrapbook paper that you can buy at Michael is usually thinner than the ones that come in the stack. This second one is also collage style, more floral and birds and softer colors. And lastly, this was really cool. I had never seen something like this. It's more of a 3D mixed media collage collection. It has a few different textured papers, but most of the paper are just scrapbook style. So it has this canvas cloth material that came with it. Kind of old school recipe cards and stamps and fonts and things like that. So I'm really excited to use these, because now my book will have more texture, more character than just colored pencil from what I was using before. Ooh, I like this one. This reminds me of the Housewives Tarot. This is just a piece of cardboard sure what I could use that for, and then a piece of loosely woven canvas of sorts. Oh, and then a more coarse. I didn't know this was back here. That's cool. A tighter woven canvas piece. Now let's get to the good stuff, the fun new stuff. So in Jamie's tutorial on how to make your Book of Shadows, he uses 2 pieces of plywood or MDF board, which is very thin pieces of wood. And I had these cut to a bit bigger than 8.5 by 11 just so I could have my wiggle room just in case. So I have my pieces cut. I don't know how I'm going to design, if I'm going to do a logo just yet, or how I want to do the binding. I know that I will make it adjustable, and in his tutorial he does the post binding, and I think that's a great idea. It would be very sturdy to do it that way. However, Pagan Scrapbook Supply, in their adjustable Book of Shadows, she uses a cord, and right now I'm using a ribbon to hold my pages, and it seems to give the pages a lot more flexibility and movement, and it's not so rigid. So I think I'm gonna do that, but these are the boards that I will be using for my Book of Shadows. And as of right now, I'm having a grand old time doing these pages just because they're so effortless. It seems like they're just going so easily. So this is the ribbon that's holding my book together right now. I could probably afford to tie it a little tighter. This is just from like a birthday card I had lying around. So the magic trick for these pages that I have been using is here on the spines of the pages. Can you see that? I have found, and I found these a while ago and I just never started, I didn't start using them until recently. These are pressure sensitive attaching strips, and it came in a box of 200 strips. So instead of poking holes in your beautifully created pages, these come as an adhesive, and you can peel off. Let me do a demo for you on how these work. This is one of my spell pages that my friend John helped me with. I have just the one page, so I want to mount it onto something, so I'm going to do that really quick. This one's perfect. And since this one is already 8.5 by 11, I'm going to try to trim it close to this red, white, and blue edge so you can see some of the picture on the back. Now the only problem with this is that the 8.5 by 11 piece of paper is only going to give me like 1/4 of an inch on each side, and I really want to see this map on the back. So I'm actually going to flip it and use this side and paste it on here, and then when I turn the page I'll see the map. Another trick I have been using is spray adhesive. It's really good. I was using Mod Podge before, but spray adhesive doesn't wrinkle the paper as much. So I suggest you guys getting your hands on an aerosol can of spray adhesive. Put this down, it is sprayed, and I'm gonna trim this side and show you how the adhesive strips work. Seka does it old school over here. It's been a while since I've done a video like this. Okay, so now I have my page. I'm gonna keep my extra. So I think I'm gonna mount it on this side, so when you open it, that's the back. And how these guys work, what I do, there's a section in the middle that you can peel off first. And then I adhere those 2 sides together so the holes line up. And then one side has horizontal lines and one side has one vertical line and horizontal lines. So I like, whatever side I'm gonna peel off first, I like to put the line on the bottom so I kind of know where the page is straight, if I have cut the page straight. These come off fairly easy. It's just tricky when you're holding down half of the adhesive strip and trying to pull off the top half. That black line is right under the edge of that paper. And as I pull it off, I'm just adjusting little by little where that page sits on the line. and all the way down. And usually this back side, and smooth out all the bubbles. The back side is usually easier than the front. Same thing, back peels off. Ta-da! I'm gonna flip through this Book of Shadows, and then we can include this one at the end together. Yay, family time. Here's the trouble I've been causing so far. I am very, very happy with how this is turning out. This first page I got at Michael's, and it's kind of like it's a see-through. It has a little bit of texture on it. It's a see-through page, but I wanted something to protect my cover page. So on the inside, my very first page, it translates into Book of Hidden Wisdom, and I have my name here. And I have chosen to have less stress in my life, but still have the artistic pleasures life has to offer. So I've been utilizing my printer, but incorporating that and combining that with my watercolor and pencil skills. So this I did in Photoshop, and I printed it and then watercolored it. This little petal I attached with the spray adhesive. It's really, really good for delicate petals because it just goes on like a mist. And this next page is in homage to myself. I got a haiku done personally by an energy healer. And this back page, was my first attempt at a cover page, and I messed up, but I loved how you can faintly see the woman behind there. And this was the sigil that I did for Maybon, so I included my sigil here. I'm gonna be adding things to the backs of these pages too, but right now, can you see how it's very flexible with the ribbon? And I don't think it would be as flexible with the posts. This next page says, "You are the product of 1,000 love stories." And on the inside, it includes a couple birthday cards from my family. So this is the family page. It has the family record on it. I have been learning lots and lots about my family tree. So I have a page that folds out. And again, I did this tree in Photoshop because it would have been insane to try to freehand this. Put the Photoshop tree behind it and did my branches coming down, and that folds out. I haven't glued this down yet. I have a painting of Baba Yaga. I tried to sketch myself one day on the back of this very ornate, nicely calligraphied page. This is an affirmations page that I did as a prompt in my Book of Shadows in the beginning. I'm gonna have a section on pop pantheons. Ethan Ewan and I love to do this pop pantheon stuff, and if you don't know what a pop pantheon is, Molly Roberts has a great video about it. So I know I shared this project. This was one of our priestess homework assignments, was to do an elemental visual, and I chose to use the goddesses I associate with those elements. And if you didn't see that video, this is Dolly Parton, Stevie Nicks, Cher, and Celine Dion. And I have them listed there. So that folds out. I'm also gonna have a whole section on moon magic and moon phases. My camera stopped recording, I'm not sure why. I will have a whole section on moon phases. I haven't even gotten around to the cover page, but I do have more to add to this. See how that's laying nice and flat? I don't know, I just like that. I'm not sure if I like seeing the plastic, so there might be a way to have it bend inward and lay flat too, but I haven't gotten that far. Moon phases are in here. This is an old page from that Book of Shadows that I showed you before. That was a sketchbook. This design I did have on a 2-page spread in my old Book of Shadows, which I really liked, but would have not worked here on this. These are the start of the Sabbath pages, and I started with Imbolc, I believe. And these are very similar to what I had in my sketchbook for the Book of Shadows. However, all of the fonts are now cohesive and every page is legible. So I have done a front and back side. I did not do the cover pages. I started to because that was the original project for my priestess training. I was going to do these pages with the cover page and the first and second installments of each. However, it was very time consuming, and right in the middle of my decision, or in the middle of a priestess training year, I decided to change my mind and do a different project. So all of these pages, as you can see, are coffee stained, coffee dyed, and you can tell kind of which ones were done at which time. If you are gonna coffee dye anything, I recommend wearing gloves or using tongs, because the caffeine can seep right through your hands, and I did not realize this until later in the afternoon when I was bouncing off the walls. All of the pages now have a little bit of my art still in them. This was from the original page, and all of my solo practices and crafts and the recipes. And what I'm gonna do for another section of my Book of Shadows is combine and condense all these recipes into one little section in the back that can be consulted. So there's going to be a whole recipe section. So there's Imolk and Ostara, and some of the pages do have little scrapbook-esque pieces. It's a recipe for my deviled eggs, which I love. Pasanki symbols. This is exactly like my old Book of Shadows. Some of the pages have pressed flowers, real pressed flowers, some are fake pressed flowers. Some of the pieces are torn out of Lilliwen's magic date book, which is date book. This is a past one, so I don't need it anymore, so I'm using the information from there in my Book of Shadows. So it has everything, all the information it had before. Some of the pieces are from the meetups that I go to. So this is the Blessing of the Fae that I had from my very first time at the Goddess Studio where I go. These are fake pressed flowers. This was the original drawing I did. I watercolored over it on this page. This was the original drawing again. But as you can see, everything is a lot easier to read, and because of the size font and everything that I had in there already, I was able to add more because it was so consistent. Back of the page, Summer Solstice, more recipes. This was one of the newer pages that I did. It's so dark compared to the other ones. Let me move that back a little bit. So for Llamas, this was the little piece of loaf that I cut out, my original ear of corn. On the back, this page was really fun because I really got into the scrapbooking style. So in the Practical Magic book, everything is kind of just stacked on top of itself, and in my book, everything is stacked, but everything is kind of removable, and you can open it, and so in this little pocket, I made a little pocket out of one of the construction papers, are grains of wheat from the last Llamas meetup. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend, but they gifted me with the materials to do the ritual on my own. Maybon, this was off of a greeting card. I'm gonna go out, actually today would be perfect, and find some flowers. I'm gonna start pressing some flowers to add here. I had a whole hand-drawn ornate wreath. However, I want this to be textured, so I'm gonna go get some flowers and press them and include those here. And for Samhain, I feel like I have too much. I have too many things. So that was a pressed leaf that I've had for years and years. Here's the back of Samhain. As you can see, this is getting more Practical Magic style. This is all found things that I had. This was from the Witch's Date book. This was something my partner's aunt gave us. This was a piece of art my friend gifted me. So all of these things kind of went with Samhain, and these all fold back and come out so you can see the recipes and things like that. This flips up, and Yule, I watercolored again. And this, I had an accident with the printer, so I'm not quite sure how to fix this, but I'm going to put something here and fill in that space. So this is the original cover page for the elements that I had done in the old sketchbook. I'm sure you could recognize. And these are the original element pages that I did, and this section will have a lot more come the next few months. This next section is titled Symbols and Glyphs. I'm going to have a whole section on sigils and different alphabets and things. So right now, because I just did that sigil work for Maybon, I included runes and the voodoo glyphs that I used for that. This probably looks familiar, the Hagstone page from my original book. At first I thought it would annoy me that all of the pages were not coffee stained and didn't look old, but now I really don't mind it at all because that's what makes it me. These were also a couple of the very first pages that I did in the Book of Shadows, and these I sprayed with fixative and then dyed them with coffee. However, you can see some of the pages started to bleed, so this is a delicate process. But it makes it look old. I did print out a tiny little, it's hard to see how to make a corn dolly or a poppet. The witch's ladder, how to. I'm going to have a whole DIY section in here, I feel. And another section for ceremonies and rituals. Ceremonies, rituals, and another for spells, I think. So hand fasting, honoring your moon time. This was the cutting the knot ceremony I did when I got divorced. Oh, missed a page. That was a front and back, and an animal blessing, that was front and back for when my familiar passed away. And this page looks kind of funky right now, but this is going to be at the very back of the book. I'm going to eventually get a button for this area, but this is going to flip open, and it has brown pages in it, and this is where I'm going to press all of my florals. Because it's at the back of the book, it'll probably be heaviest. So that is where I will keep all my pressed florals. So I think we can add this page into probably towards the very end because it will be with the spells and things like that. I think it would be okay right here. Toss that in. Stack them all together. Line them up. Little trick, I put a little piece of tape on the end of this ribbon so it is a lot easier to put through the through the holes here. Now I have these two sides, and it doesn't really matter right now from the if you go from the front or the back. It comes around and then they go through the center. So I have both of them through the center. And what I like to do is put one end on each side of the center ribbon, and I just have been doing one knot so it's easy to take apart. That is the progress on my Book of Shadows. I will link where to find these amazing pressure sensitive attaching strips. I got them on Amazon. Don't remember how much they were, but there are 200 of them so far. And some of the pages you can double up. Thank you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed your tour of Seka's Book of Shadows so far. Have a great day.